At my wife's funeral, I got a message from her phone. It said, "I am still alive. Trust no one." I thought grief was making me hallucinate until the messages kept coming. I never thought the day would come when I'd bury Laura. 40 years together, and somehow, I always thought I'd go first. We met in college. She was studying literature, I was a history major, and from the moment she quoted Hemingway at me in that coffee shop, I was done for. She had a spark that never dimmed, even when life threw us curveballs. But 3 months ago, that car accident outside of Portland supposedly took her away. I say, supposedly, because, well, you'll see. It was a gray Thursday morning when we held the funeral. The church smelled of lilies and rain-soaked earth. Friends, family, even old coworkers from Laura's teaching days came to pay their respects. Everyone said the same thing: she was such a light, she'll be missed, she loved you, Tom. I nodded, shook hands, accepted hugs I didn't want. My daughter, Emily, stood beside me, her eyes red from crying. She looked so much like her mother it hurt to see. After the service, when most people had gone, I stayed behind. I couldn't leave her yet. The casket sat at the front, closed. They said it was better that way after the accident. I had never seen her body, and that haunted me. The last image I had of Laura was from that morning before she left for the conference in Seattle, her hair tied back, travel mug in hand, telling me not to forget to water her plants. Then just silence. A phone call from a stranger. Police reports. A body that matched the description. As I sat there staring at the casket, my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but habit made me look. The message on the screen made my heart stop. "Tom, it's me. I'm alive. Trust no one." I read it 3 times, convinced my mind was playing tricks. The number wasn't saved, but it looked familiar. The first 3 digits matched Laura's old phone, before she switched carriers last year. My hands trembled. I looked around the empty church like someone was watching me. "Laura," I whispered, my voice cracking. "What the hell is this?" I called the number. It rang once, then went dead. I texted back. "Who is this? If this is a joke, it's cruel." No reply. That night, after everyone left, I sat in the living room surrounded by sympathy cards. Emily was asleep upstairs. I couldn't stop staring at that message. I wanted to believe it was a glitch, some spammer, anything rational. But deep down, I knew my wife. She had a way of cutting through noise with a few sharp words. That message sounded exactly like her. The next morning, I went to the police station. Officer Daniels, the same guy who'd handled the accident report, gave me that polite, patient look cops reserve for grief-stricken widowers. "Mr. Harper," he said, folding his hands, "I understand this is hard, but the body was identified. There's no mistake." "Then explain this," I said, showing him the text. He frowned. "Could be someone spoofing her number. Scammers use personal info after accidents all the time." "But how would they know to say, 'Trust no one'?" That's what Laura used to tell me whenever something smelled off, like when her school's principal tried to push through that shady grant deal. Daniels sighed. "Grief does strange things, sir. Maybe take some time before diving into—" I cut him off. "You're not listening." He nodded sympathetically and promised to look into it. But I could tell from his tone he'd do no such thing. On the way home, I couldn't shake the feeling I was being followed. A silver SUV tailed me for 5 miles before turning off. Maybe paranoia, maybe not. When I got home, I checked the locks twice. Then, just before midnight, another message came. "If you love me, don't tell anyone. Not even Emily." That's when I knew, whatever had happened, it wasn't over. My wife's death was just the beginning. I barely slept that night. Every sound in the house made me jump. The creak of the floorboards, the whisper of the wind through the trees. I kept reading that message over and over. "If you love me, don't tell anyone. Not even Emily." That was Laura's voice, I was sure of it. She always had a way of saying things that hit right between the ribs. Direct. Urgent. Personal. The next morning, I drove to Laura's office at the university. They'd cleared her desk already, but her friend and colleague, Janet, was there boxing up the last of her things. When she saw me, she gave me that sympathetic tilt of the head people use when they don't know what to say. "Tom, I was just packing up her research notes," she said softly. She was working on something big before she left for Seattle. Some kind of academic collaboration with a private sponsor. She didn't tell me much. I hesitated. "Do you know who the sponsor was?" Janet frowned, shaking her head. "Just a company name, Northbridge Dynamics. Ring any bells?" It didn't. But it felt familiar, the kind of name that sounds ordinary until you realize it's everywhere. I asked if I could take Laura's files home, and Janet didn't hesitate. "Before I tell you what happened next, make sure you're sitting down, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you love crazy true life twists like this one. Because trust me, you won't believe how deep this goes." When I opened the box that night, I found her laptop charger, some pens, and a brown folder labeled ND Project, Confidential. Inside were printouts, graphs, and several pages of notes in Laura's handwriting. But one thing stopped me cold. A small photograph tucked inside the folder. It showed Laura standing next to a man I didn't recognize. Middle-aged, sharp suit, fake smile. His arm was around her shoulder like they were colleagues, or something more. On the back of the photo, in Laura's handwriting, were 3 words. "He's not who." That's it. Nothing else. Not he's not who he says he is, not he's not who you think. Just he's not who. Like a fragment of something she never finished. My head spun. I remembered what Officer Daniels said, the body was identified. But how? They said the car was crushed, the body burned beyond recognition. They identified her by dental records. What if those records had been switched? That night, I tried calling the mysterious number again. No answer. But at 2:17 a.m., another message arrived. "They're watching. You can't trust the police. Look under the oak tree." I ran outside in my robe, flashlight in hand. The oak tree in the backyard had been there since we bought the house. I dug where the roots bent upward, my breath fogging in the cold. After a few minutes, the shovel hit something solid, a metal box, the kind you'd use for old documents. Inside were 3 things. Laura's wedding ring, a small USB drive, and a note written on torn notebook paper. If you're reading this, it means they found me. Northbridge isn't what it claims to be. Keep Emily safe. Don't believe what they show you. The handwriting was undeniably hers. I sat there in the dirt, clutching the note, my mind spinning. How long had she been hiding this? What had she gotten involved with? And why had she gone to Seattle if not for a conference? The next day, I plugged the USB drive into my laptop. There were only 2 files. One was a spreadsheet of names, companies, and payment amounts, some in the hundreds of thousands. The other was a short video file. Laura appeared on the screen, filmed in what looked like a cheap motel room. Her face was pale, her voice shaky. "Tom, if you ever see this, something's gone wrong. Northbridge is involved in government research, but not the kind they tell the public about. People disappear. I might be one of them soon. Don't trust anyone from the company, not even those who say they're helping. I'm doing what I can to expose them. I love you." The video cut off abruptly. I sat there for hours, staring at the frozen image of her face. I didn't know whether to cry or call the FBI. But the next thing that happened made the choice for me. There was a knock at the door. 2 men in suits stood outside. They didn't flash badges, but they didn't need to. Their posture, their clipped tones, the way their eyes scanned the room behind me, they reeked of authority. "Mr. Harper?" one of them asked. "We're with Northbridge Security Division. We'd like to ask you a few questions about your late wife's involvement with our organization." My pulse thudded in my throat. "You mean her former organization?" I said. The man's expression didn't change. "Of course, former. May we come in?" I hesitated, then shook my head. "Not without a warrant." The 2 men exchanged a glance, then smiled politely, too politely. "We'll be in touch, Mr. Harper." They turned and left, but one of them lingered at the car, jotting something down on a small pad that I watched them drive off, my gut twisting. That night, another message came. "They found you. Leave the house. Now." I didn't wait to pack much. Just my wallet, the USB drive, and the note from Laura. I woke Emily, who was still groggy and confused. "Dad, what's going on?" she mumbled. "We're taking a trip," I said, trying to sound calm even as my heart raced. "Now, sweetheart, get dressed." She looked at me with the same wary eyes Laura used to give me when she sensed I was hiding something. But she didn't argue. 10 minutes later, we were in the car, driving into the dark. I didn't know where we were going. I just knew we had to go somewhere that Northbridge wouldn't find us. By sunrise, we'd made it to a small town in eastern Oregon, one of those places where the diner doubles as a post office and everyone knows everyone. I paid cash for a rundown motel room, drew the curtains, and sat on the edge of the bed while Emily slept. I kept replaying the video on the USB. Laura's voice haunted me, tired, scared, but steady. The kind of steady you only get when you've already accepted what's coming. Government research. People disappear. What did that mean? I decided to find out. I booted up an old laptop I hadn't used in years, one that wasn't linked to anything traceable, and searched for Northbridge Dynamics. Dozens of results popped up: defense contracts, bioresearch grants, partnerships with federal agencies. It was the kind of company that lived in the gray areas, not illegal, but too powerful to be questioned. Buried on a forum thread from 2 years ago, I found something chilling. Northbridge pays for silence. If you cross them, you vanish. I was about to dig deeper when there was a soft knock at the door. I froze. Emily stirred. "Dad." "Stay quiet," I whispered. Another knock. Then a voice. "Mr. Harper, it's Officer Daniels. Please open up. You're not safe here." My blood went cold. I peeked through the blinds. It was him, standing outside the motel room in uniform, looking around nervously. But how had he found us? I hadn't told anyone where we were going. I cracked the door an inch. "How did you?" He cut me off. "You need to come with me. Northbridge knows you have something." His eyes darted to the parking lot. That's when I saw it, a black SUV idling across the street. The same kind I'd seen tailing me days earlier. I didn't have time to think. I grabbed Emily's hand and bolted out the back exit, heading into the alley behind the motel. I heard Daniels shouting, then the squeal of tires. We ran until we hit the edge of town, where an old freight yard stretched toward the horizon. I hid us inside a rusted-out train car and waited, my breath shallow, my pulse pounding. Emily clutched my arm. "Dad, what's happening? Is she alive?" I looked at her, my daughter, brave even through the fear. I wanted to lie, to protect her. But something in me refused to sugarcoat anymore. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I think she might be. And if she is, she's in danger. We both are." She nodded, biting her lip. "Then we find her. That girl, so much like her mother." We stayed hidden most of the day, waiting for things to cool down. When the sun set, I made a decision. I needed to find someone who could verify what was on that USB. There was one name that stood out on the spreadsheet: Daniel Reyes. He'd been listed next to a series of payments labeled Project Warden. After some digging, I found an old article online mentioning him as a whistleblower who'd gone missing from a lab in New Mexico 5 years ago. Missing or hiding? I found a phone number linked to a small research firm in Santa Fe and dialed it from a prepaid burner I bought at a gas station. A woman's voice answered. "Who's calling?" "I'm looking for Daniel Reyes," I said. "It's about Northbridge Dynamics." Silence. Then, softly, "Meet me in person. 2 days. Route 66 Diner, Santa Fe. Don't bring anyone else." The line went dead. 2 days later, after a long drive filled with tension and cheap coffee, I arrived at the diner. I left Emily with a family friend in Albuquerque, safer, at least for now. Inside, the diner was half empty. I spotted a man in his 50s sitting in a corner booth, eyes scanning the room. I approached cautiously. "Reyes." He nodded. "You must be Laura's husband." My chest tightened. "You knew her?" He sighed. "We worked together. She was trying to expose what Northbridge was doing with the neural mapping project, human trials without consent. She found out something she shouldn't have. When she tried to leak it, they staged her death." I gripped the table. "Then she's alive?" He said quietly. Last I heard, she was hiding somewhere in the Rockies under a new name. But if she contacted you, that means she's on the move again, and they're coming for both of you. Before I could respond, Reyes's expression changed. His eyes darted past me. I turned just as a man in a dark jacket entered the diner. Reyes's voice dropped to a whisper. Run. Then the window shattered. The window shattered before I even hit the floor. Glass rained down, a bullet slicing through the booth where I'd just been sitting. People screamed. I grabbed Reyes by the arm and pulled him behind the counter, my heart hammering in my chest. Go, he shouted, waving me toward the back door. They're here for you. I didn't hesitate. I sprinted through the kitchen, shoving open the back exit. Tires screeched in the parking lot. A black SUV again. I darted between two dumpsters and ran toward the highway, lungs burning, adrenaline pushing me forward. I could hear shouts behind me, the slam of car doors, boots pounding pavement. A hand grabbed my jacket. I spun around, ready to fight, but it was Reyes. His face was pale. They won't stop him. You have to disappear. I'm not leaving without answers, I snapped. He hesitated, then pulled a small drive from his pocket, not the one Laura left, another one. This has everything, he said. Evidence, research files, recorded memos from their executives. Laura got them to me before she vanished. Where is she? I demanded. Where's my wife? Reyes looked me dead in the eye. Colorado. A town called Silver Creek. She's under an alias, Nora Lane. She's alive, Tom. But if you go to her, you'll bring them right to her. Before I could answer, a gunshot cracked through the air. Reyes's body jerked forward, a dark bloom spread across his shirt. He collapsed at my feet. I dropped beside him, shouting his name, but his eyes had already gone still. Sirens wailed in the distance. I grabbed the drive and ran. By nightfall, I ditched my car, taken a bus, and crossed into Colorado. My mind was a mess of fear, grief, and something sharper, determination. Laura had risked everything to keep us safe. Now it was my turn. Silver Creek was a quiet mountain town, the kind of place with one main street and more elk than people. I found the address Reyes had scribbled on a note before he died. A small cabin near the edge of the forest. I didn't know what I'd find. Part of me was terrified I'd open that door and see a stranger. Another part hoped I'd see Laura and everything would make sense again. When the door opened, I froze. She stood there, thinner, hair shorter and streaked with gray, but it was her. My wife. Alive. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. Then she whispered, Tom? I didn't think. I just pulled her into my arms. She trembled against me, and for a few seconds, the world stopped spinning. Then she pushed back slightly, eyes full of tears. You shouldn't have come. They'll find you. I already know, I said. I've seen what you were working on. Reyes told me everything. I have the drive. Her face fell. Then they'll kill you for it. Let them try, I said. I'm done running. You wanted to expose them. Let's finish it. She stared at me for a long time, like she was weighing something heavy. Finally, she nodded. There's one more thing you need to see. She led me inside. The cabin was small, cluttered with maps, files, and computer parts. On the desk was a laptop, open to a video feed of what looked like a laboratory, rows of unconscious people hooked up to machines. They're experimenting on civilians, Laura said quietly. They call it Project Warden. Neural mapping, behavioral control, forced compliance. The goal is military, programmable obedience. My stomach turned. Jesus, Laura? I tried to leak it, she said. They found out. I faked my death with Reyes's help, but they've been hunting us ever since. We both knew there was no going back. We uploaded the data to every major news outlet we could, multiple servers, encrypted backups. It was reckless, desperate, and maybe our only shot. But within an hour, they were here. Headlights cut through the trees. Engines roared. I saw figures moving outside the windows, armed, organized, efficient. Laura grabbed my hand. There's a back way through the woods. Go with Emily. I'll stay and finish the upload. No, I said. We do this together. She smiled sadly. You always were stubborn. Before I could argue, she pressed something into my hand, her wedding ring. If I don't make it, you tell her the truth. Laura. She kissed me once, quick and fierce, then shoved me toward the back door. Go, Tom. I ran into the night. Shots cracked behind me, echoing off the trees. I didn't stop until I reached the ridge overlooking the cabin. Flames were rising from below, smoke curling into the dark sky. I wanted to run back. I wanted to save her. But then my phone buzzed. One last message. It's done. The truth is out. Live for both of us. The news broke 2 days later. Leaked documents, whistleblower footage, undeniable proof. Northbridge Dynamics was exposed. The government denied involvement, arrests were made, and public outrage swept the country. They called the leak the Harper Files. But to me, it wasn't justice. It was loss. A year later, Emily and I live in Montana. She's back in school, slowly healing. Sometimes, when the wind moves through the trees, I swear I hear Laura's laugh, soft, distant, alive somewhere beyond all this madness. I still have her messages saved on my phone. Sometimes I read them when the nights get too quiet. The last one always hits the hardest. I am still alive. Trust no one.